Hi. Remember, we've talked about how the front part of the brain is our processing part of our brain. It's when we try to make sense of the world through our five senses. Sometimes, though, when we are putting through information in that part of the brain, we have what we call thinking errors. Thinking errors are irrational thoughts, things that are not really helpful as we process. So today we're going to talk about 6 of those thinking errors or irrational thoughts. Number 1 is catastrophizing. This is my favorite. Catastrophizing is when we think of everything that could possibly go wrong. So if we are planning an outdoor event, we start to worry about the weather. We start to worry about how people may have hay fever, how there may be an infestation of wasps. Everything that could go wrong, we believe is going to go wrong. So to correct that thinking error, I would go back to tip number 12, which talks about challenging our worried thoughts. 2 main points of that is that we need to look at what's realistic. Is it realistic that these things are going to happen? And 2, what can we do about them? So having a backup plan. If we have an outdoor venue, have another venue just in case it ends up raining. Something that goes along with catastrophizing is what is referred to as wasted worry. We worry about a lot of things that probably aren't going to happen. So we need to ask ourselves again, is this rational or irrational concerns? Number 2 is overgeneralization. Overgeneralization is when if one thing happens, we think it's going to happen all the time. So let's say we apply for a job and we are turned down for that job. An overgeneralization is, I will never be hired by anyone. Or let's say we're a teenager and we ask someone out and they turn us down. No one will ever go out with us again. That's an overgeneralization. Again, we need to challenge that thought and realize that just because one person turns us down for a job doesn't mean we will never get a job. Just because one person turns us down for a romantic relationship doesn't mean that we will never find love. Number 3, should thinking. A lot of times we get stuck in that things should be a certain way. And again, we've talked about that in number 9, in tip video number 9, so please review that. Number 4 is mind reading. Mind reading is when we think we know what other people are thinking. We see a group over there and we know that they're talking about us. Or someone maybe does something and we are sure we know what their intent is because we are reading their mind. Well, my understanding is none of us can read each other's mind. So one way of correcting that thinking errors is we've got to ask. So for example, if we think that someone is mad at us, we need to ask, are you angry with me? Then it can be out in the open and it can be clarified. What you're going to see with these thinking errors is that they all kind of set on top of each other, and so several thinking errors can be combined into one kind of statement or thought process. Number 5 is assuming. Assuming is we think we know what, again, mind reading what other people are thinking, or we assume what is best for another person. We assume what they might like. Again, in number 4 tip, we talked about types of communication, and assuming is an aggressive type of communication style. Again, we need to check out with people. Instead of getting them a piece of cake, we need to say, would you like me to get you a piece of cake? Because we don't know, maybe they are watching what they eat, or maybe they are allergic to whatever dessert that we are bringing them. So ask. And finally, what we call black and white thinking or all or nothing thinking. Black and white thinking is things are one way or another. And oftentimes in life, things are rather gray. Or the all or nothing, it's all in or it's all bad. So for example, we may meet someone And we will either think they are wonderful and not see their flaws, or we might think that they're terrible and not see their strengths. The reality is people have strengths and weaknesses. So we need to look at finding that balance and being able to see the positives and the negatives in a situation. Even with things like exercise. Sometimes we're going to exercise every day and then we miss a day and we give up for months on end. When the best thing is if we miss a day, okay, the next day we can exercise again. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. Hopefully these tips will help you as you challenge your thoughts. Thank you.